Imagine being the CEO of a seven-figure business at just 23 years old. You've launched several successful business ventures, amassed a huge online following, and are the go-to coach for a community of young, aspiring entrepreneurs. And all that without a college education, a business degree, or any generational wealth. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, not for Charlie Morgan, the average teenager from Britain who is now one of the most sought-after digital marketers of our time. From the shadows of absolute obscurity, he battled to fame, on a journey riddled with failures, but also unyielding belief in himself. So, keep watching and witness a story that'll challenge everything you thought you knew about success and education. Not much is known about the early years of Charlie, but we can assume that his entrepreneurial journey began sometime when he was 15 years old. Like many young men growing up, Charlie was struggling to find his outlet in life and was at a complete loss about what he should and shouldn't do. But he possessed a strong personality trait that differentiated him from other teenagers. He had a strong disdain for being average. Things really came to a head when he got into college because Charlie needed an answer to justify himself, and he needed it soon. Everywhere he turned, he would find people asking him the same questions about what he thought his future looked like, and he felt he never had a convincing answer for himself. But one thing he knew for sure, he wasn't made for mediocrity, a corporate career, or the average 9-to-5 lifestyle. Never knowing what to make of anything, he used that basic principle to guide his judgment. At the start of his A-levels, Charlie would go out to McDonald's every Friday with one of his friends. And it was in one of these excursions that he found his answer. Questioning his friend about what he had planned for his future, the reply came promptly: complete A-levels, go to university, and eventually get a reasonable job. Now, this came as sort of a shock to young Charlie, who was surprised that people would opt for a lifestyle that would be too rigorous, time-consuming, and capital-intensive, but with a very low return on investment. He was surprised that people didn't have the same problem he had, that of not wanting to succumb to mediocrity. By 17, he was nonetheless completing his A-levels with English, biology, and psychology as the focus of his study. He had very little interest in any of the subjects except psychology, but even for that, he found no ultimate utility. During this time, Charlie was on the hunt for inspiration and more lucrative prospects, and that's when he discovered Tai Lopez. Watching a house tour video on YouTube of this successful entrepreneur, young Charlie was left completely speechless. He had never seen that kind of wealth and affluence before. For the first time, Charlie had a sense of awareness of what he wanted to do in life. This awareness quickly became obsessive, and he found himself burning through the content of Tai's books and SMMA courses. He had finally found pleasure in learning. This is also the first time when Charlie receives his first ever paycheck, window installation business through Facebook groups, and made his first £100. By that point, he knew that freelancing was just too good an opportunity to turn down, and along with his studies, made sure that he focused his time on hunting for the next client and improving his skills. At 18 years old, he had passed his A-levels, and he had a difficult decision to make. Should he go to university or pursue his entrepreneurial endeavors instead? Charlie was already a reasonably experienced freelancer at that point, and even went as far as launching his first venture, a marketing agency he named Key Social. He had a solid business on his plate, with a handful of clients offering consistent work. Despite his initial success, he decided to go against his gut feeling and eventually joined Plymouth City University, where he studied entrepreneurship. But Charlie, now restless and on the hunt for the next big thing, kept working on his business, sometimes at the expense of his studies. He received contracts for web designing, graphic design, and even social media copywriting, making upwards of £1,000 a month. During his spare time at university, he would put his rigor and obsession to work. In his first year, he would compulsively make his way to the library and read everything he could get his hands on: accounting, literature from contemporary authors like Robert Greene, and books on business development strategies. He would sit and read for long stretches of 9 to 10 hours at a time. He also actively sought out people who were more competent than him. He tried to learn as much as he could in as little time as possible. But the pace of the university curriculum couldn't keep up with his thirst for knowledge and his skills. There was this constant fleeting feeling in the back of his head that the education he was receiving wasn't leading to anything. so he decided to take matters into his own hands. He went to his university tutor, Raphael, and told him that he had read a lot of books which told him that sales is the most important aspect of entrepreneurship, and he wanted to take a pragmatic approach to the ideas he was learning. But he was shocked to learn that there was not a single course in his university focusing on sales. He realized that universities don't actually hire entrepreneurs to teach courses. They hire people who understand the theory of the business sector, even if they haven't contributed to it in any way. So, Charlie eventually realized the education he was receiving wasn't worth the trouble and dropped out of university shortly after. This was one of the most tumultuous periods of his life. He was receiving criticism from his parents back home, and to make matters worse, his small agency had been receiving too few clients and its condition had deteriorated to the point where it could barely churn out 200 pounds a month. His confidence was shattered, and he fell into depression. By the time he was 19, Charlie had learned to pick himself up by the bootstraps and get back to work. Despite having no clients and not so much experience, he decided to start fresh. He took on an apprenticeship under a mentor named Alan. Alan had hired him to make 200 cold calls every single day, 5 days a week. The work was hard, but Charlie was humble and grateful for the opportunity. After all, he was making real sales and closing real deals. And Charlie also started his own side hustle. When he wasn't cold calling for Alan, he was now cold calling for himself, specializing in helping gyms get more leads. He used any single hour he could spare to work on his own sales scripts, market research, and making calls. He spared no expense to develop his little venture into a full working agency of his own. He eventually landed his first client, named Ian. Treating him exceptionally, his brand began to gain momentum, and clients began cascading in. He was making around 300 to 400 cold calls a day, but despite hating every second of it, he also realized that persevering despite the hardships was the only way that he could make a way for himself in life, and it paid off. After 6 months of working tirelessly, he had not only built a working business that was making him 8,000 pounds a month, but he also managed to complete his apprenticeship before he turned 20. Acknowledging his success, he didn't want all that momentum to die off. So he got a small office and began hiring staff to make cold calls for him. But even at the time where everything looked smooth, he knew he didn't have everything figured out. He was struggling with service delivery. But as luck would have it, he wouldn't have to struggle much longer. Shortly after establishing his new business, he had serendipitously come into contact with another man working in the same niche. Compared to him, he was financially considerably better off. His name was Bo, and he and Charlie quickly struck up a friendship. While Charlie was making 10,000 pounds per month, Bo was making 3 times that much. But neither of them was perfect at their craft. Bo struggled with sales, but he had seamless service delivery. And with Charlie, things were exactly the other way around. So they decided that they should partner up. This is probably the best decision that Charlie could have made, because within 2 to 3 months of working together, they both managed to get their sales up significantly, doubling their clients and now making 6 figures per month. By that time, Charlie was 22 years old. He had practically achieved his life's goal of never being mediocre, but the prospect of something better looming on the horizon was still too hard to ignore. Despite their success, Charlie and Lamb had to face the harsh reality that they couldn't compete in the gym business as strongly as they wanted. None of them had ever built and expanded their own gyms, and competing with that level of market knowledge missing was pretty hard to work around. So they opted for a different approach to their next step. They would now help other agencies to work like their own. Having grown their own agency to 160 clients, they had a solid track record of growing an agency business. Now they added helping other agencies grow to their portfolio. At first, this venture, called Imperium Agency, was just a consultancy service to help companies scale. But later, they changed their agency program and set up an online course which they could sell directly to other businesses. With more than 200 hours of videos, it was more content than any one person could need for building and growing their agency. Today, at just 25, Charlie is still Charlie Hustle, putting in the hard work to scale his now 7-figure business. He's consistently working on projects and even launched his own YouTube channel where the advice and insights he shares finds an ever-growing audience. His story is one of triumph over adversity, and his journey is a testament to the power of determination, grit, and belief in oneself. So, what's your personal opinion on Charlie? Is he the wonder kid most people think he is? Or is he just another online guru trying to make money off the backs of impressionable adults? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this video entertaining or learned something new, please leave a like and tell us what you'd like to see next. Also, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell on your way out so you won't miss our next inspiring video. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you again soon.